It was 2 a.m. on a Minnesota highway. A 19-year-old boy was on the phone with his father, lost but alive. They talked for 47 minutes, and then, mid-sentence, he said one word, "Oh," and the line went dead. Brandon Swanson was never seen again. Brandon Swanson was 19 years old, living in Marshall, Minnesota, a small agricultural town in the southwestern part of the state. He had just finished his first year at Southwest Minnesota State University, where he was studying to become an electrician. People who knew Brandon described him as responsible, outgoing, and level-headed. He wasn't reckless. He wasn't in trouble. He was the kind of kid who called his parents when something went wrong. And on the night of May 13th, 2008, something went wrong. It started as a normal night out. Brandon had been at a party near Canby, Minnesota, about 30 miles from his home. At some point in the early morning hours, he got back in his car to drive home. But somewhere along the rural highway, he drove his car into a ditch. He wasn't hurt, but he was stuck. So he did what most young people would do. He called his parents. At around 2 a.m., Brandon called his father, Brandon Swanson, and told him what happened. Brian and his wife, Annette, immediately got in their car and drove toward Canby to find him. As Brian drove, he stayed on the phone with Brandon the entire time, guiding him, talking to him. Brandon said he could see the lights of a town in the distance. He said he was walking toward them. He didn't sound panicked. He didn't sound threatened. He sounded like a kid who'd had a bad night and was waiting to be picked up. They stayed on the phone for 47 minutes. Brian drove to the location where Brandon said his car was. He honked the horn. He called out his son's name. Brandon said he couldn't hear him, meaning Brandon wasn't anywhere near the car. Then, without warning, Brandon said, "Oh," and the call ended. Brian called back immediately. No answer. He called again and again. Nothing. Law enforcement was contacted, and a search began almost immediately. Brandon's car was found, not near Canby as Brandon had believed, but near Lind, Minnesota. It appeared Brandon had been completely disoriented about his location in the dark. He thought he was walking toward one town, but he was actually miles away in the opposite direction. Searchers scoured the area on foot, by air, and with dogs. They searched fields, drainage ditches, farm properties, and the banks of the Yellow Medicine River, which runs through the area. They found nothing. No clothing, no footprints, no signs of struggle, no body, just silence. The search expanded. Hundreds of volunteers joined. The Swanson family refused to give up, organizing private searches for months and then years after law enforcement had scaled back. Brandon's case became one of the most publicized missing persons cases in Minnesota history. So what happened to Brandon Swanson? The truth is, no one knows. But investigators and the public have put forward several theories over the years. Theory 1. Accidental drowning. The Yellow Medicine River is close to where Brandon was walking, in the dark, disoriented, walking through unfamiliar terrain. It's possible he fell into the river without anyone knowing. Theory 2. He was picked up. Some people have speculated that Brandon was picked up by someone along the road, either willingly or not. The sudden "oh" before the call ended could suggest surprise at seeing a vehicle, or something more sinister. Theory 3. He's still out there. The land in southwestern Minnesota is vast. Thousands of acres of farmland, ditches, and overgrowth. Some searchers believe his remains could still be in the area, simply undiscovered. In 2009, the state passed what became known as Brandon's Law, legislation that removed the previous 72-hour waiting period before police could begin searching for a missing adult. His family has never stopped looking. Brandon Swanson was 19 years old. He called his dad for help on a dark road in Minnesota. And somewhere between that phone call and the lights, he said he could see in the distance. He vanished. If you have any information about Brandon's disappearance, contact the Lyon County Sheriff's Office in Minnesota. If this case moved you, subscribe to Grave Evidence. Every week, we cover the cases that deserve to be remembered, because every missing person has a name, and every name deserves the truth.